In this video, we will take a look at functions in Python. We will kick things off by understanding what functions are and how they are useful. Next, we'll dive into creating or defining functions and incorporating them into our programs. We will explore the concept of parameters, also known as arguments, which are used to pass data to functions. Finally, we will grasp scoping in Python, a concept that determines how functions access variables. So just sit and relax. Let's have fun with functions. A function is a block of code that runs only when it is called. Functions are useful because they allow you to write reusable blocks of code that can be called multiple times. You can define a function in Python by using the def keyword. Let's begin by writing a function that takes two numbers as input and returns their sum. Def, we're going to call it add num x and y. Sum equal x plus y return sum. The first line of code is referred to as the function signature. The function signature defines the name of the function and any inputs it expects. It consists of the def keyword, the name of the function, the parameter list, and a column at the end of the line, indicating the beginning of the function body. Right here is the function body. The body of the function is a code that runs whenever the function is called. The second line in the function body is a return statement, starting with the return keyword and is followed by the variable. The program stops running the function when it reaches the return statement and returns the value. Keep in mind that not every function will have a return statement. You will see an example of that soon. You will also notice that both lines of code in the function body are indented. Every line that is indented below the function signature is part of the function body. Every line must be indented by the same number of spaces. To call a function, use the function name followed by a list of arguments enclosed by parentheses. To call the above function with the arguments 5 and 6, type the function name, enclose parentheses, and a list of parameters. In this case, it's 5 and 6. Let's create a variable name for that. We're going to call it result. Print that. Let's run our code. It's evaluated to 11. 5 plus 6 is 11. You must define a function before calling it. Not all functions need a return statement. Here's an example, and this is perfectly valid. You have the name of the function, we pass in one argument, a print statement, and we call the function. So let's run that. You see that it works. The terms parameter and argument mean the same thing. Information that are passed into a function. A function can have many parameters or no parameter at all. Here we have a function, name our function, and we did not pass any parameter. We have a print statement and we call the function with no parameter. So this should perfectly work. If we run that, we'll see hello my function. Below here, we have a function. We pass in two parameters, first name and last name, and we should call the function with two parameters. If you try to call the function with 1 or 3 parameters, you will get an error. So let's run this first and see. It works. Now let's remove one of the parameters and see what happens. Run that. Type error, missing one required positional argument. If a parameter specified in a function definition has the form name equal to the value, then the value becomes a default value for that parameter. In that case, we can call the function without using argument. It uses the default value. So this program should perfectly work because it's using the default value in here. When we call the function, we don't need to specify an argument. Let's run the code. It works perfectly fine. Another thing I wanted to show you is how to use arbitrary arguments. If the number of arguments is unknown, add a star or asterisk before the parameter name. This way the function will receive a tuple of arguments and can access the items accordingly. As you can see here, we use the arbitrary argument before the parameter. In a print statement, you see the parameter with an index attached. So this basically tells you that when we are calling this function, we're going to pass a tuple and we want to retrieve the first index within that tuple. And the first index in this tuple will be New York. As you may be aware, counting starts at 0 in Python and other programming languages. So if we run this code, which you see New York is my favorite city. Let's run that. Here is it. New York is my favorite city. In Python, scope refers to the specific area of your code where a variable is accessible. It basically determines where you can use a variable name. Basically, there are three types of scopes in Python. We have the local scope. The variable is defined inside a function or a block of code and is local to that specific area. You have the global scope. Variables defined outside of any function are in the global scope. Lastly, you have non-local scope. It's used in situations where functions defined inside other functions. So if we take a look at this block of code, when Python executes the line C equal A plus B, it looks for the variables A and B in the local scope first, but none of them exists there. So Python moves up to the scope of the first function. And here is that the variable B is defined in the scope of the first function and is assigned the value 5. However, A does not exist in this scope. So Python moves up once again to the global scope, which is outside the first function. There it finds the name A, which has the value 10. Now that the names A and B are resolved, Python executes the line C equal A plus B, which assigns to C the value 15. Let's call first function. And print result. That evaluates to 15. So this is how scoping works in Python. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to smash that subscribe button for more tutorials like this. See you in the next video.